Ladies and gentlemen, every other Tuesday on the Journey into Comics Network, it's Puhr News with the late-breaking news when it matters most. The following is a Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
It's a Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
Network.
Production.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, the podcast dedicated to all things nerd, with your host, the podfather himself, Nate Phillips.
Showtime, a-holes.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Journey into Comics. It's Journey into Comics 215. I am your host, Nate. And holy shit, today joining me for the first time in so long I genuinely can't remember. Welcome back to Journey into Comics. AP, how's it going?
I'm doing good. It's good to be back. It's been a minute.
Dude, you're the host with the most. How's it been?
It's been good, just busy. Life, I know you know very well that life's been busy the past month, but I'm definitely feeling it too. So much going on.
Interesting to note, too, you're one of the few people on the network that juggle as many shows as I do. I mean, you really, and I hyped you last episode. I don't remember what I was hyping. I think it was because we just crossed the 365 days of
right. I think you hyped
podcasting.
Everyone. Give a little bit of shout to everyone.
Yeah, and you know, one thing that's interesting to know about you is, like I said, you have 4 shows that your hands are in right now. I mean,
yeah.
Adulting Ain't Easy, Foodies Watching Movies, Puhr News, and Puhr Entertainment, which I do count as separate shows because you have to come from different brain spaces. It's not like you can do the same show over and over.
I think it's an audience. There's people that don't listen to both shows. Like, obviously people on the network do, but like there are people who, like, could care less about political news, and there are people who are like, oh, more entertainment stuff? Yeah, sign me up.
You know, and it's interesting to note, man, you look at the stats, and I'm not, like, I try not to be a stats whore. Both those shows are equally good. Like, people download them the equal amounts. So I think you've got something. It's something about you as a person I think is easy to gravitate towards. This first drink break, do you want to take it over?
It's brought to you by Puhr News and Puhr Entertainment. Thank you, AP.
Puhr News. yeah, there we go. Episode 6 tomorrow of tomorrow when people are listening to this, of Puhr News. One thing I want to mention, and I don't know if we really discussed this, but you switched formats.
I did.
And you went from Puhr Rapport, which was something that I was very fond of. You did 50 episodes, amazingly, and put in a lot of work. You doubled down 1 week.
I did. That's the only reason I got out of sync with Podcast Shoes. Is I was like, I had enough content for 2 shows. Cool if I just do a double drop, and you're like, yeah, whatever you want to do. Like, I
mean, it's your show. I can't stop you. The only, like 1% of me thought, well, just make it like a super long episode, extra dive deep. But then I was like, no, because if it's kind of 2 different things, which it was, it plays off each other nicely. And then people are like, oh, double content. Shit, what's this about?
Right. Because like I've never been able to be like, I can't sit down and do like a 3-hour show with just me. I'd ramble. I'd get lost.
Man, rambling's fun though on podcasts. I think that's why I become the master of the ramble.
Right. But like, it's like when I sit down and watch Podcast Show, it's like half my workday. I'm just like, I'm in Dick and Tyler's world. I'm like, what's going on now? Like,
those
guys, they can podcast for days. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they just have a good conversations with each other because it's like they don't see each other often.
Right.
So when they are unleashed upon each other's worlds, they just like...
Right. I think their level went way up once they stopped working together. So I think it became a lot more... They didn't get all their energy out during the workday. It was like... It kind of lighted a spark when they got on the show.
And I feel like now maybe they almost rush to do a 3-hour show, if that makes sense, because they could probably do 6 hours.
Right.
But they're like, well, we got to wrap it up. The wives are going to get pissed. We got work in the morning. Well,
wives.
You know, isn't that interesting?
Waiting for a show, The Wives of Podcastrophe.
Oh, my God. The real pod wives of Jay. Oh, that's happening. The real pod wives of JICN. It'll be Skylar, Miranda, Liz, Ashley, Damn, that'd be an interesting show.
It'd be interesting chemistry.
They are all over the place as people. I do know.
Right.
I know them all on different levels, and
then none of them know each other. Really.
No. I mean, Miranda and Skylar.
Well, yeah, they would.
So they would have a good rapport, and most likely they would lead the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it would be interesting to get Liz's different opinion jumping in there, and
yeah, I think if we ever get our big group gathering together and can get all of them in the same room, that would be something to put on recording.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe someday we'll do that.
Definitely.
We got a plan to get that big group gathering, but we got to get everybody stop doing big events like getting married and shit. AP, what's up with that? That's coming around the corner.
Yeah, it's. I know. I was just thinking about it. It's right. Actually, as of today, as of recording day, it's 2 months exactly, which is terrifying.
Dun dun dun.
But exciting, but terrifying.
So hey, I listen to your show Adulting Ain't Easy on the Journey into Comics Network every other Wednesday. Just cheap pop.
Yeah.
You just did your bachelor thing.
Yeah, I did my bachelor thing, and then Liz did her bachelorette thing last night as we're recording. But
well, I'm guessing we'll hear about Liz's expeditions next episode of Adulting Ain't Easy.
We will.
But to go back to your expedition, man, I got kind of Shanghai down of getting to be a part of the fun. My job, which is the casino dealing industry, offered me a pretty unpassable offer, I guess you'd say. And I worked a gig the Thursday that you guys went up to Wisconsin. And then the Saturday that you guys got back, which part of me was like, man, if I would have tried to do this, I probably would have died, literally. But that's okay. I digress. We had a show that Saturday night, though. And I'm really bummed that I missed it, but I'm glad you had a lot of fun. It seemed like you guys just wild out and had a great time.
We did. We got it. A lot of it was what I would call kids at heart activities. Like, obviously, we're staying at the Dells. We're in a water park, which is a lot of fun. And
I would have spent all my time there, bro.
We did spend a good chunk of time there.
I mean, just in the water.
Right.
Enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a blast. And then we did some pretty awesome, like, indoor tactical laser tag, which was pretty awesome. We played with some legit kids. But hey, hitting like a 10-year-old in the head with the headshot, be like, tut. And then her mom coming out there going full Tiger Mom, being like, no. I was like, damn, all right, this is what we're doing now. Okay, that's cool.
So you were full of battle mode.
We were.
That's great.
It was a blast. I had a great time. Did an escape room, which was always fun.
Oh my God, how did that go?
It was good. It was a Harry Potter themed escape room, which was different.
Did you escape?
We did. It was like the four of us, and we got through it.
Talk about it. I've never done an escape room, and I've always wanted to. And I feel like I'm like the big idiot in the world. Where if you could drop me in a real life video game, I would find some way to fuck up really quick and ruin the whole thing.
Yeah, it's different because they'll just obviously the whole thing is they put you in a room, and then there's a bunch of different clues or obstacles that you have to kind of figure your way out of it. This will be my third, but the one I've actually successfully got out of. So,
wow.
So one of the past, they usually have a different like theme. Like I've done one where it was a bank heist, so you had to break in, get the money, and get out within an hour. Because usually all of them are set to an hour. And it's a smart business because you don't need a lot of space. You just need like 2 rooms and then a lot of like cubby holes and things you can hide things and clues and all
creativity
that.
as well.
Right, creativity and a small space. And I think it's better. I've done some with like bigger groups, and it gets so many people talking over each other, and you lose the whole point of it. But if you have a small group, you can figure things out easier because someone's not breathing down your neck like, hey, we gotta do this or that. And you're like, you have the time and the patience to be like, oh, let's try this, and then it works, and you move on, and you can find secret passageways and other things that. And you get to you're all there together. It's not like someone over there is moving on, and you're like, oh, we're all here now. Okay, let's
jump forward.
Right.
Interesting, man. I want to try one of these escape rooms. I thought that it would be interesting to do like a superhero themed escape room. I don't know if they exist.
There's probably one by now. Those things are popular enough. I don't know what the story would be. They could probably easily do an MCU style one, like something to do with maybe getting in a Stark lab or getting out of Stark lab. There's the reactor's going to explode and you have to do something. There's probably a theme out there, and could do one with Ant-Man. There's ideas.
Oh yeah, tons of places you could go in the MCU and do things. You could have like the throne room of Black Panther and like have to figure a way out of that or something. I don't know.
Right.
Just riffing here, but so it's cool to know that you had a good time. we're here today to nerd out and talk about a bunch of shit, but I don't know where you want to start.
Well, we were just talking about MCU. Let's stick with some MCU news. You got anything to share on that?
Oh, MCU stuff, man. There are a lot of different places we can go on this because it's like as the clock kind of ticks into the end of the year now, people are starting to get impatient. The grounds are shifting.
Right.
You can feel the dust
I know one thing. You're really laid it on thick. I know one thing I'm really excited about is that Kevin Feige just announced that before the end of 2018, we will see an Avengers 4 trailer. And most likely that'll also include the title reveal. I can't imagine they drop the trailer without a title.
It'd be hilarious if it was like, the build-up, Avengers 4, or it just, says Avengers, and then you're ready to see the thing turn around, and then it turns and it's like, we're not ready to tell you.
It just becomes redacted.
Yes, or it like blurs completely off, and you're just
like, huh?
Or, even better, it's facing the wrong way, and it starts to turn, and it dusts.
Like, no.
We can't figure it out, Avengers. Just call it Avengers, I guess, is what we're going to end up having to go with. It's interesting to think about what the future of the MCU is going to be like on the other side of this movie.
Yeah, it's the climax of 10 years. Like, they have to go in a different way because they've established a lot of building blocks and a lot of story directions, and we know Captain Marvel's going to blow the doors open of a more, I guess, extraterrestrial...
Cosmic.
Definitely a better word.
Looking
extraterrestrial. Phone home.
She's a fucking alien. I don't know if you listened to last week's JIC, but they changed her origin.
Yeah, I think it goes along with I think you said in the last episode that they released a new comic that's going to basically be her origin.
Yeah.
The life of Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, yes, correct. And it more involves her mom and a power that's been inherited, and she's always been an alien or whatever, or part alien. I think that, and I wanted to bring this up on this week's episode because, to me, when you look at the MCU and what's coming, right? 22 movies, 10 plus years, 11 years by the time it's all said and done. I mean, like literally 11 years to the year, right? So that's 2 movies a year every year average, okay? Right. Marvel has to. I want you to think about the immense pressure that this entire company is under. They have to hit a guaranteed home run. Because, and I want you to think about this very genuinely, if this 11-year buildup goes to something that does not satisfy all or does not do it perfectly, whatever comes next is not going to be as cool because people are going to be like, well, I don't know if they can fix. I mean, they didn't get it right with Infinity War 2 or whatever. Like, why should I trust them to do the Secret Wars storyline right or whatever? Right.
I don't know. I think one thing I think would be, I know we talked about like the trailer dropping, but I think it would just be hilarious if they just didn't give us anything. The trailer is just showing, it's just the last minute of Avengers Infinity War and just be like,
you know what's coming.
And it's just like, the Avengers will return, ... And then just the date of when they're coming. It's like
question mark.
And then it's whatever, was it May
3rd, 2019.
Then that's just the date, and then it's just, or just 30-second Super Bowl spot that's just May 3rd, 2018. Like,
it just says it in the Avengers font,
and then like just the music, the event, like the Avengers theme. You're like, I got to see what they're gonna do.
Dun,
like,
dun, dun, dun,
like we don't know who's in it.
Dun, dun, dun. I love it. It's so good. It's so good.
Just don't even give us anything. No after credit scene in Captain Marvel. Just be like, what are you waiting for?
I don't know if you saw this or not. I want to bring. You were talking about MCU stuff. Did you see the video, the side by sides of the moments that are happening, of what's happening in Wakanda with Thanos, what's happening with Maria Hill and Nick Fury, and then what's happening in Ant-Man in time succession, right?
I have not, but that sounds awesome.
Okay, I will probably pull it up here in a second. I'll describe it first, and then I'll have you like riff so I can pull it up. But essentially the video is what's happening as the snap is happening, okay, and the everything crumbling, what's happening with the helicopter crash and all that, and then in Ant-Man it's just from the post credit.
Oh,
and I want to remark on this something that I want you to pay attention to when we watch. Notice that in Ant-Man and the Wasp, in the spot that they show on this clip, the amount of orange orbs that show up around Scott Lang and start flying sporadically as the snap happens.
Oh.
Okay. So riff for a second. I'm going to pull this up.
Yeah, I don't know. I really need to rewatch Ant-Man and the Wasp because I think that movie...
It's in the Google Drive.
It's in the Google Drive? I know I need to... That movie... I think it's one of the only movies I think that come from the MCU that's really like a straight up comedy. That one was the romantic comedy of what it was. It's just that's the movie you needed after Infinity War to kind of get you over that whole oh god, what's happening now? And it's like, oh, it's uplifting. At the after credits, you're like, oh, that's right. We're still in the MCU. This is what's happening now. But I'm excited. Like one thing that we'll need to talk about too is the fact that we're gonna have to get a Spider-Man trailer before Infinity War comes out. Otherwise, there's only 2 months between the two without any further context. So I think they have to somehow prepare a trailer in a way that is spoiler-free enough to hype you for that movie without giving any post-Infinity War tease. So we'll have to see kind of what shakes from that, but... I don't know.
Don't you love when you're on the internet and you're trying to find some shit you easily found a day ago and now all of a sudden it's impossible to find?
That's the world you're in right now.
Yeah, so that's exactly what's happening. I'm going to just have to go to comicbook.com. Shout out to them. They always hook us up with the sources.
Sometimes they're clickbaity a little bit, but that's just the nature of that kind of site. But they do have good information.
They do, and they definitely hit the nail on the head when it comes to like finding out.
Right.
Of info. Oh, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, it's like, we just talked about this before we recorded, how there was a comicbook.com article about Kevin Feige on the status of Deadpool in the snap and egg, and he's like, well, technically he wasn't in the MCU at the time of the snap, so presumably he's still alive. Like, okay. We know you know what's going on, but you can't tell us, so it's like, well...
Just fucking tell us.
Just say it. Like, I know there's no way any of that cast is in Infinity or in the fourth Avengers movie because of timing and logistics, unless they really were cocky and were like, we're just going to put these people in the background anyway, which they could do. And they could have put them in not the refilming, when they went back and shot more, just did their reshoots and their tidying up and their whatever their voiceover work they do over the top of some lines, but we'll kind of see.
You know, that's weird that you talk about the voiceover thing, because that is a lost thing in movies. You know, back in the day, how often you would see like a terrible edit where some guy would be like, hey, you motherfucker, but then he didn't say that. He was like, hey there, pal. But his mouth moved weird. Did you like those old edits?
Like when they have to edit for TV.
Yes, not necessarily only that though. Sometimes movies would have the actors go back, and just change like one line of dialogue. We weren't quite happy with that one line. We're not going to reshoot the whole scene.
It's usually not noticeable if they do it like when they're like someone's walking away, so you never actually see their mouth moving, so they can say whatever they want because they'll just be in a studio watching that film and like, all right, now say the new line. Okay, and we got it. Like one thing, there's a show I'm into now that has to do that. That it has to do it a lot because of sometimes they film on the beach, and that is The Good Place, which is on NBC.
Okay.
Which is I don't know if you see it, it's on their third season now. It's probably one of the most innovative comedies on TV right now on a major broadcasting network. Because they have
Good Place.
The Good Place. It's Ted Danson stars on it. It's basically the whole show takes place. The Good Place is what they call like the good version of an afterlife. And that there's a whole bunch of big twists and turns. Every season's gone in a different direction. And in the third season, they're now back on Earth. And it's this... but they do a lot of scenes at the beach. And they've had to do a lot of this... I think it's called ADR. You have to record over your lines that you said on camera because there's so much background noise they have to drop that out and then have you re-say it, and then they'll put that back in because there's no way they can separate the two sounds.
Correct, because the ocean crashing and shit's loud, and that's a noise that just on a scale you don't even recognize when you're in the moment. But these microphones pick shit up so well.
Right, or you get like the natural beach noise, like birds and all that. Like, there's so much stuff that you don't think about, like when you're actually there talking. But if someone's recording that, it picks up every little bump and screech and water movement that it ruins the take. So you have to do this ADR, and you gotta imagine those big budget movies where there's things exploding and in vehicles and all that extra external noise that you have to overcompensate for. There's probably a lot of ADR they do in those superhero movies.
Yes, oh, absolutely. Explosions and fucking... Do you think that more time than we recognize actors are just sitting behind microphones doing what we're doing, but for their movies, like watching the scene going, okay, wait, how did I say that again? Let me hear it. Can I hear myself one time? Okay, that's my tone. Okay, cool. Now let me just re-say
Well, it's like all the times that Robert Downey Jr. is doing when he's inside the suit and he does just the head with like the heads up display around him. He's literally just in a booth, like draped in black, just saying his lines into a camera. Like he's not actually in that scene.
Yes.
And like all that recording stuff. So it's the same thing. And same thing with like in Infinity War when Hulk was inside the Hulkbuster armor. He was literally doing the same thing. He was just not in that scene at all, just watching what was going on and be like, those are my lines.
Let me just say, man, it's weird how acting works.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing.
I can't find it, bro. It's pissing me off.
Well, it's fine. We'll find it. We'll throw it up on the JIC Facebook page.
Yeah, we'll get back to it.
It's like that. Oh, it's like that. Only thing I did like about Infinity War is like how it looked almost cheesy with the Mark Ruffalo. Like almost, he looks just CGI'd in the background of that one scene in the Hulkbuster armor, with the lid opened up.
Yes,
it just didn't look like it was actually like they just added that after the fact.
Oh, you guys are screwed now. When Thor comes down,
I was like, that looks so out of just all right.
It's interesting to note that there was the big spoiler. That was the Hulk busting out of the Hulkbuster armor pop vinyl. Did you know about that?
Right, I saw it, and it was a big expensive thing, and then it's like, oh, maybe no.
It's not in the movie,
and it was not even a deleted scene. I don't think they even
it wasn't because it might be in the next movie.
Oh, because they may have to redo some.
There's a lot of things that could be happening, man.
Well, they're playing with time. We know that
they are playing with time. You know who else played with time?
Doctor Strange.
Deadpool.
Oh, he did.
Deadpool played with time. And I mentioned this to you off air. We were talking about, because you'd said Kevin Feige, and getting back on that train of thought, did the snap take out Deadpool? Oh, he's not a part of it, being so politically correct, right? So, I feel like Kevin Feige, if you watch him answer a question, okay, do me a favor. Let's just do some role play on the podcast. I want you to be an interviewer, and I want you to ask me a question about the future of the MCU. And me as Kevin Feige, I'm going to try to answer politically, but I'm going to kind of explain to you what I think his thought process is while trying to also politically explain.
Okay, so Kevin.
Sure.
You've been helming this massive sensation for 10 plus years now, ever since Iron Man did Unspeakable Business.
Time out. He totally just stroked my ego. I love this. Continue.
Now, you've been very hush-hush about what's happening post-Infinity War. We've seen a lot with what's going on with the snap and what characters aren't coming back, and we know that, like, let's say we know Chris Evans said he's done. He had his final scene on there, so we know he's not coming back. Can you speak more on that?
Oh, sorry, I was just daydreaming about what's going to happen when the Fox deal goes through and we get these characters. I know what's going to happen with everything because I'm the fucking mastermind. Of course I know. Here's the deal. This is the thing. When Kevin Feige's getting these kind of things, you can tell he's off in a different fucking place because he's thinking, as long as I don't spoil the cool shit I have planned, it's going to be the coolest shit ever. Kevin Feige going all the way back. I mean, he has real built-in lineage in the history of comic book movies. He's attached to the first X-Men, dude.
He was just a regular producer, wasn't he?
Correct. He was a producer on that. And then he became an executive producer in 2 and 3, I do believe, or to some effect. Even back then, he was begging them to make it an interconnected universe, make it a bigger story, make it spin-offs where characters get their own time to shine and then come into an ensemble piece. They did not listen, right? So now, here we are 20 some odd years later in the grand scheme of things. Isn't that crazy that we're almost 20 years removed from X-Men?
That's crazy. We're just kids then.
Yeah, but just to think about it, he's full circle now. Because if Infinity War Part 2 or Avengers 4 pays off, and he does this thing 22 movies deep, it's the biggest fuck you, I told you so, and the next step on his door, think about this. The next step on his door is the platter. Here's the company that wouldn't let you do this. Now you get to have all of your characters back.
It's like being shunned at the door and be like, then the door coming to you be like, we don't need you.
So what I'm saying is, all the different ways that Kevin Feige processes when people are asking him spoilery type questions or how he's going to try to be diplomatic and deflect them, he's not only doing that, he's actually, like, in my mind, transcending and thinking, man, the payoff of this is going to be, like, I can't even believe that the full circle has happened. Because to think, 22 movies, 10 years, you wrap up the biggest successful creation in cinematic history. I mean, the biggest interconnected movie universe, I would think, right?
Yeah.
Can't be anything bigger, to my knowledge, or as good in that.
Definitely in the modern era.
Even the old era, though, right?
Well, the old era, you could probably think of the old Universal monster movies were a big interconnected universe.
Yeah.
But that was a different time. This is definitely in the last 50 years, this has definitely been...
Absolutely. It's so much bigger. It's
right.
Bigger and bigger and bigger.
It's definitely bigger in scope.
So, like I said, just for him to go, okay, I've done this thing. I've had the payoff. 22 movies complete 10 years later. And like I said, the first thing that's going to happen on the other side of this success is he's going to immediately have to officially, I say that officially with quotes, get to work on these new properties because... in all reality, he's already been to work on these properties. He knows it's going through.
There's definitely, very least, a writing room turning up story.
Totally, and they're saying, okay, how do we get these guys in? What do we do if we do this? Can we introduce anybody early and bring teasers for something in the future?
I mean, you've listened to interviews with the two writers. They're like, they were just in a writing room, like, come in. Hey, we got Spider-Man. Put him in. Like, they're ready. They just need the word. Like, they have all the. I just want to see the whiteboards in the studio offices.
Oh man, to just like even if they were in a room and they just like quick panned it, and you're like freeze frame, freeze frame, freeze frame.
Like what? There's all these code words for different things. They don't want the janitor being like cleaning up. Like
what's worse is all the code words are just all the DC characters, so it's super confusing.
Why is Batwoman getting her own movie? What?
And then that's Namor's movie, and you don't even know. You're like, what the fuck? How's Batwoman Namor? I'm not sure how that translates. Me neither.
There's a weird... He has like this giant like code wheel that's like a decoder ring.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to like decipher it every time. Who do we say this was again? Oh, fuck, I got this confused. Is this the Eternals? I'm not sure.
Oh, the Eternals.
I was getting back to something about Kevin Feige. Oh. So I thought about it, and I love this concept. Avengers 4 ends. The movie's over. We get our post-credit one, as I'm sure we'll get. But then there's going to be the deep post-credit, okay? I think the deep post-credit should just be a screen and whoever survives building, right? And it's like, it's literally 5 letters, okay? So, it'll be SOS RR Reed Richards saying somehow this family is trapped, and then of course they'll be like, well, where did the code come from? We can trace it back. Oh, well, it's in this pocket dimension. Why do we get there? We're gonna have to fucking use Doctor Strange. Oh shit, now we've built the relationship for Doctor Strange and Reed Richards to work together, building our Illuminati into the future. I mean, there are huge wheels they can put into motion if they do this right.
I mean, that would be so nice. I would love to see, especially now that the Fantastic Four comic is now brought back to life. You know that they're ready to start turning that turning that wheel again, bringing the first family of comics back into them.
It's so much untapped money, bro. There are so many Fantastic Four fans. It's insane. Fantastic Four is just, like I said, they're the first family, the legacy. Right. I mean, Stan Lee's first creation, as it were.
And they don't need to do the origin. Just bring them out. Just do what they did with Spider-Man. They're already them. Thing's already the thing. Let them be the thing.
I've thought about that too. Another thing, if you're going to do anything about their origin at all, okay, here's my thought.
Flashback?
Not even PTSD. Make it a trigger. Almost how Tony had that trigger in Iron Man 3. It keeps hitting him, and it fucking stuns him, and Reed just can't get through his day because he's remembering the cosmic rays hitting him, and he's watching Sue essentially explode into bits because she's going invisible, and Johnny blowing up into fire, and, you know, these rocks just crushing his homie Ben to death.
That would be a really dark movie, but it'd be good.
And then it kills him, man. And that's what he's fighting for, is to keep them safe. Right. So he's got to think even further ahead because he's seen what can happen.
Make him already established, make him already married, give him 10 years in their pocket universe, then that they get pulled out of.
Exactly.
Like, don't ever send him back to that pocket universe. Just pull him out and just close that door.
Would you like to introduce it?
This is brought to you by the Train of Our Existence.
Yeah, always showing up.
It never sounds loud when you're listening to it, but it's actually really loud in the room.
Very fucking loud, bro. I'm telling you. It's like, I mean, the train track is literally like 20 footsteps from my backyard, so it's not far.
But you hear it, and like you vaguely hear it when you listen to it. It's like in that Train of Our Existence. You're like, I don't hear anything.
All my listeners think I'm crazy because I'm just like,
you're just hearing whistle.
Goddamn Train of Our Existence.
Nate in 70 years, sitting in a room. There's the train again. Nate, you're nowhere near a train.
I'll just be rocking back and forth. Train kept rolling.
Rolling
down the line.
Cannot wait for the next Avengers movie.
Avengers
70 years
10. Like Avengers 20.
Cannot wait for the next episode of Sherlock.
I wonder how long this will go. Like how long can you sustain the MCU successfully?
Or how long Kevin Feige will stay associated with it.
I don't think that matters at this point because I think he's built up enough people.
He's made a well-oiled machine. He could walk away.
Yeah.
If I was Warner Brothers, I would throw unfathomable amounts of money to pull him.
Who knows? They got Brian Michael Bendis.
They do.
I mean, they've got Jim Lee. I tell you,
I still think their comics are. I like that. I think they have their comics figured out a lot more than they have their movies.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy about DC? Beyond their comics, beyond their movies, thank you for the beautiful segue. Their television is bar none.
Yeah.
It's the best, man. So I've been teasing it, and I'm not going to really get crazy today because I don't want to spoil too much for you. I finally caught up on Titans. So I'm now 3 episodes in.
Right.
Holy shit, dude.
Good.
It is phenomenal, okay? It is a very brilliantly crafted story. From the jump, it digs its heels into you, and you want to know more. You want to understand how this is happening, right? The characters are interesting. The acting is really good. How they film it is brilliant. The music is not obnoxious. It just gives you a little bit of everything. It's grittier than Gotham. It's more vulgar than fucking almost Deadpool on some levels. I mean, it's very, very gory and gritty in some spots, man. I mean, there's a dude who literally gets jellified from the inside out. It's fucking fucked up, wow. Bro. So, like, the whole thing about the show is, and I'll give you guys some like a non-spoiler review, as it were, of what's going on. AP, and feel free to, if you have questions,
right.
I'll rip with you. But so essentially, Dick Grayson lives in Detroit now. He's a Detroit police officer.
Okay.
He has gotten away from Gotham. He's fucking had it.
So he's just a 20-something now, right?
Yeah,
he's probably in his mid-20s.
He's kind of got a chip on his shoulder.
Okay.
He gets assigned a new partner. He don't fucking care about her or trust her for that matter. He doesn't want anything to do with her. He doesn't want a partner, and everybody kind of keeps joking that it's because he's from Gotham, and, his last partner was probably a freak or something, or whatever. So he's doing his own thing. Stories, whatever. He doesn't really have, like Robin's story is pretty basic to start. They do show him action sequency early on, and I'm sure you've seen, teasers and stuff of it. This alley fight.
That was the trailer one.
He lands.
The infamous fuck Batman scene.
which they cut completely different. Because the way it actually happens is he lands in the alley, they draw their guns, and then they hear a noise, and they all look up, and they're like, it's Batman! And while they're all up looking at him, Robin just starts fucking taking dudes out, using the grappling hook, throwing his things. He's got his little baton thing that extends, so he's fucking hitting these dudes, and they like fall close, and he extends it in their faces and shoots them out and stuff.
And the baton's was not a Dick Grayson tool, was it? Wasn't that a different Robin?
I mean, Damian used it a little bit. I think Jason Todd primarily used the baton.
But they've brought some. They've not enveloped. They've kind of pulled some.
They kind of had to alter the lore a little bit because they really want Robin to shine. He's a great character, and
I know
totally.
the suit looks awesome from the pictures I saw.
Yes, and that's another thing too. The costume design on this show is fucking incredible.
CW level?
I would say better. I mean, just my humble opinion. I mean, I think it's right up there with the movies. That's kind of what I was going to get at. It's just shocking that they do the TV so well, or in this instance, it's a streaming service, but they're doing it so well, but they can't seem to lock in how to get it right on the big screen. Back to Titans, though, the thing that's interesting is, so Robin is just like, again, very mundane storyline, nothing's really happening. But you also meet this girl named Rachel, and she's just this little girl, and she's sleeping when you meet her, and she's watching Dick Grayson's family fall to their death.
Oh.
And she's not watching it because she was there when it happened. She's watching it from now, reaching back into the past, which we don't know why yet, and viewing the events in real time and feeling it and being there, right? And it's this like heavy thing. You quickly find out Rachel has a dark side, and it's in her reflection. It's like it's this like witch power that just goes fucking crazy. So she's essentially a runaway. I won't spoil why or what happens there, but she runs off and ends up running into Dick. And she's like, this is not a coincidence. I just dreamed about you the other night, and then like you're here now. Everything that I've done, every decision I made without meaning to led me to you, and I never planned to go to you. Like my result was never, I must find this guy. I was just running, and it just so happened to be this way. So while this whole story is building, and you have these two characters who are becoming these like this cool thing where he kind of protects her, and there's this like beautiful camaraderie. There's this other character. I still don't know what her fucking name is, bro. I'm like 3 episodes in, and I don't think I've understood what name they're saying when they're talking about the character.
Is she a main character?
She is a main character. I know her in the comic form as Starfire, right?
But they've not said Starfire or whatever.
No, and whatever they're using as her human name or her normal name, it's just for some reason on the frequency I've had a hard time hearing. I need to really go back and like.
It's a weird name.
Exactly. So she just wakes up in a car crash and has no idea who she is. She's searching for a girl. Wouldn't you know it? The girl is Rachel. But she doesn't know Rachel. She doesn't even know who she is. So she has to start tracing her path backwards. And things evolve, and her power is unleashed. And you get to see that. So essentially what they've been doing in the show is you're almost getting like chapters of each character's little individual arc. And very much like your Game of Thrones and whatnot, you're jumping between once you've further developed the story.
So is it kind of like how the first season of Heroes was? Did you
Did
watch Heroes?
Yeah, oh fuck yeah. First season of Heroes is amazing.
So like how it had to introduce each character and then how they connected to each other.
Exactly, and that's what it's doing brilliantly, right? So this thing is happening, and then you get this at the very end of the first episode. Nothing special. It's not a spoiler because you know it's gonna they're gonna eventually have all these characters. There's this guard in a like video game store, or maybe it's like just like a Best Buy or something, and he keeps hearing a noise. He's like, what the fuck? So he draws his gun, and he walks towards where he's hearing the noise, and he sees a giant tiger eating video games. What the fuck? So he like freaks out. The tiger runs off, and the tiger turns out to be Beast Boy, and he was stealing video games.
So he just eats them, and then it stores them wherever.
Yep, correct. So he's
Kirbying the...
So, but they don't explain how he's going to do anything with anything. He's just completely his own little thing. So that's the thing. Second episode introduced Hawk and Dove. Their stories are very intertwined with each other But Dove and Robin have an interesting story arc that they're building and they tell backstory of, right? So there's some lineage there that creates this bigger overarching thing. Hawk hates Robin, so there's some tension, and there are reasons, and then things get more complicated. They are trying to save Rachel. I keep using their Teen Titans names, and protect her. And this fucking crazy, it was awesome acting. It was one of the best. It's a family of 4. They look totally normal. They're just like your everyday, like Debbie Homemaker 1950s family. Mm-hmm. They're playing Monopoly and being all nice and fair. And some dude knocks on their door and says, "You're activated." And the dude's like, "Hey, kids, we're going on a family trip. Who's ready?" And they all get injected with this blue stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, here's the most interesting bit is that come to light, they want to kill Rachel, and they're hunting her. And the kids are evil as fuck, and the parents are even more evil. It's super dark and gritty. And then the third episode further evolves, brings some more characters together, further details. The show just does a really good job of getting you lost. Like, I wasn't really certain when I first tried to watch Titans. I actually took 2 attempts to watch the show to actually like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm locked in. Like, let's do it. I'm fucking all about it. But I'm there, man. I think it's a show that if you have an opportunity to watch it, please do.
Definitely. Does it follow the other CW molds of having a big bad that they're doing a slow reveal for, or is it still building the characters?
Kinda. And what I mean by kinda is it really comes down to they are revealing a bigger presence, but you're not quite sure where the head of that snake lies because so many people are interested in Rachel because she has this really crazy power. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't know about her powers or how to even control the power. And that's another interesting facet is the power taking over her and creating a new thing or whatever. But on the flip, total opposite side of the spectrum, mm-hmm. Everybody knows what her power can do, and they all are interested. I don't know if it's trying to harvest energy. There's one group of people that are trying to, like, say she's some biblical thing, that they have to kill her and sacrifice her heart with the heart of a normal human for something to be complete and someone to be... It's really, like... It's deep, man. I think you'll really dig it. It's intense.
I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out. And this is from Berlanti, too, right? He's producing this show?
Greg, move your head.
Still has that same...
Yep, at the end. Right.
But it seems like now that he has the ability to not make it necessarily TV-friendly, he can make it a little bit darker.
Lots of fuck, lots of shit, lots of damage.
Very adult.
Some sex scenes already.
Makes it darker than Arrow Season 1 for sure.
Oh, blows Arrow Season 1 out of the water in terms of darkness. I mean...
Awesome.
No fucking holds barred. They are foot on the throttle 100% of the time.
It's what, 10-episode season?
Actually, I'm not sure how long it'll go. I do know that episode 4 will introduce the Doom Patrol.
And then we know that's getting a spinoff.
And that's going to be a spinoff. Well, another thing that's interesting to note, I don't know if you guys know this or not, Batman is actually a character that is visibly seen. Not as Batman, but as Bruce Wayne. But not from the, like, it's always a silhouette from the back. Interesting, they always play on it. They never really reveal him.
But they know he exists in this world.
He does exist in this world, and he is mostly existing in flashbacks for Dick.
As when he was the Ward.
Correct. And interesting to note that the car that Dick still has to this day in the show is a car that when he first went to Bruce, he stole. So that's a kind of clever Easter egg, sorta, to Batman Forever, right? Because that's what that Dick Grayson did. Only difference is this is a Porsche and it's not the Batmobile, and he doesn't fight a circus clown
bunch of blacklight painted
motherfucking ass motherfuckers. Yeah.
Oh, Avengers Forever.
Is that where we're going? Right back to Avengers Forever?
No, we can stay in CW world.
How's Flash this season?
I've been, as like we said, we've both been pretty busy, so I'm only one episode into the main CW shows, except Legends, and I haven't seen Black Lightning yet. But Flash has been interesting start. Obviously, we know the big cliffhanger revealed future child.
Nora Allen.
Who's not from the comics. Because in the comics, their kids were the Tornado Twins?
Don and Dawn.
So now this is...
D-O-N and D-A-W-N.
But there was another kid from one of them that was named Nora, right? From the comics?
Maybe that was like Bart's daughter, possibly.
I know the name came up later, but so it's very interesting because one thing that we've always known, I don't know if I should get spoilery with this or not.
Sure.
Because one thing that you know from, it's not really a spoiler unless you haven't watched any of the seasons, but how the big thing that drove a lot of the show was the news article from the future that said Flash vanishes in Crisis.
Yes.
Obviously alluding to the Crisis on Infinite Earths, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
And one thing that Nora reveals in that episode is that she never met her father at the age she is now, because she posted an article up that says 20 years later still, or it's basically like 20 years later still no Flash.
Oh, shit. So, hold on. Let me see if I get the MacGuffin just based on your little setup there. What you mean to tell me is for this season, essentially what they're saying is Nora Allen has never met Barry because Barry went vanishing before her birth or when she was very little, very young, and she's not seen her father, and he's still missing, and she's trying to right that timeline wrong.
She came back to, for one, see her father. That's why she came in last season to the wedding.
And just to be a part of the experience from...
Right.
As a speedster can.
Right, and she doesn't want to go back, but she doesn't want to... She wants to see if her being involved here can save the future and have her father in her life.
Ooh.
So it's definitely a little of season 2 flat. Or, no, what season was that? Which one was the alternate timeline? Is that season 2? Or 3?
Alternate timeline...
When he goes back on does his mother's death to...
Oh, that's Flashpoint is season 2.
Okay, so it's like she wants to do that to herself.
Flashpoint started season 3, bro. No. Season 2. Wait, hold on.
Timey-wimey.
Okay.
Earth 2 was season...
Earth 2 was season 2 because the end of season 1's cliffhanger ends with the portal opening and Firestorm.
So it's end of season.
It is end of season 2, start of season 3 that is Flashpoint.
Right. So I think it's interesting because he's able to... It's very interesting because even though they're assuming parental roles of her, so it's a very interesting dynamic. We're getting a new version of Barry, a new version of Iris...
Because they have to be parental to her.
Even though they're her age right now, essentially.
That's fucking great. That's an interesting dynamic.
Right, and it's very... Because, like, the one thing you don't get the whole time is that Nora is glued to Barry's hip from the beginning, before they reveal that, and doesn't want anything really to do with her mom because her mom was there her whole life. It was just her and her mom because Barry was gone. And she only thing she knew about Barry is because she worked in the Flash Museum, so only saw his greatness. So she always wanted to impress him, but Barry had to tell her. It's like he showed her like season 1 stuff of him like falling off the
cosmic treadmill.
Right. It's like saying like we all started somewhere, and like being the run Nora run type story.
Okay, so he's become Wells.
He is. He even uses the Wells line of like feel the lightning because they at one point in the scene they vibrated a plane to go through it. Her. Kid Flash and him were all on a plane. They all vibrated at the frequency to make the plane go through a building so it wouldn't crash into it.
Oh my god!
Yeah, they went all in already. So, I think I don't know if Kid Flash is on Legends yet. I haven't watched it, but I think he's on Flash for at least the next few episodes.
Cool. Love
Kean Lionsdale.
Kean Lionsdale, yeah, he's great.
But yeah, I'm really excited. I've seen all this stuff talking about the upcoming crossover, bringing in Batwoman. We've seen some pretty big...
I'm going to sneeze live on the podcast, y'all. Sorry.
Bless you.
No, I think another one's coming, too.
They always come in pairs.
Fuck. Bro, it's the worst when sneezes happen.
Right?
Also, our counterpart will be here shortly.
Nice.
I just got the text a few minutes ago. She should be here in like the next 10 minutes, I'd say.
Awesome.
So we're almost wrapped up here. You know what? Here's something I don't talk about often that's interesting to bring up. I don't know if you do this. You kind of collect comics, right?
I do. There's actually I got into what I actually got into collecting was last year when they did the Dark Knight's Metal run.
Batman Metal, yeah.
That's when I got into it. I like Scott Snyder. I liked Greg Capullo. I liked their run of New 52 Batman. And then they were doing this standalone. And I liked, so I'm not big on trying to jump in at a number. If I want to be a completionist.
Yeah.
So if I try to jump in at like, oh, I'm not going to pick up Flash 24 because I'm going to spend all my time getting Flash 1 through 23. That's why I can never jump in on like, oh, get Spider-Man 310. No, I'm going to want Spider-Man 1 through 309, and that's an impossible task. Unless you're Nate, who is good at that.
I mean,
It's a process.
It's
like,
a long process, bro, to read that many comics. It takes a long time, my brother.
Another train of our existence?
Oh, dude, they come in 3s and 4s sometimes.
Man. But it's like I like getting on these little miniseries, the ones that are good episodes. That's why I'm like, I did all of Dark Knight's Metal and all of the little spin outs they did of it. And then I did like Doomsday Clock and like Heroes in Crisis.
You actually probably have a couple Doomsday Clocks that I don't have. I'm missing 3 issues technically. I have every issue.
But you don't have the physical.
No. I have every issue. Physical, and I'll show you. However, issue 5, I only have the first cover. I've been collecting both covers for each.
Yeah.
So issue 5, I only have the first cover. Issue 6, I only have the first cover. Issue 7, I got the dope rare cover accidentally.
Which one was that cover?
Rorschach punching the Joker in his fucking face.
Oh.
The alternate cover was the Lantern.
Oh, I'm only collect the main cover. That's how I do it.
Which is great. Those are fucking still amazing covers.
Especially with the Doomsday Clock, because sometimes they're just not, they're very vague covers. Like, one was like a plate of pancakes, or a broken whiskey bottle, or a vodka bottle.
It is 100% the most beautiful homage to the Watchmen. Like, they're doing it so well. I need to catch up reading. Actually, let's talk about that here for a minute. That's a thing. I'm glad you brought that up. You and I have plans.
We do.
Patreon plans.
We want to resurrect something that hasn't been seen in a while.
The Comic Club.
Yes.
And what we're going to do is probably like, one issue at a time, do an episode per issue, and really just dive really deep into it. That way we can really chew on all the delicious, tasty bits of the comic.
I think once both our lives slow down a little bit, I think that's the plan, is to probably at least get maybe 1 or 2 a month, at least for the foreseeable future. And maybe with a series, because I know Doomsday Clock is going to be wrapping up by summer, I think, of next year.
Yeah, I mean,
because it was originally expected to be like once a month, but they've had some, so they had to make sure it was right before they got it out. So they've been some shifting of schedules.
Yeah, and unintended setbacks cause it to be like we're just. Let's see, was it January of last year when it started?
January 2018.
January of this year.
It was supposed to wrap up in December.
It was technically December of 2017 was when the first issue dropped.
December.
Because it was for the solicitation for January.
Right.
That's right. So it's almost a calendar year, and we're only 7 issues in.
So there's still 5 to go.
So they got to put 5 more out. You know, maybe we get a double towards the end.
Could be.
You know,
I know Jeff Johns is busy.
Jeff Johns is a busy dude, too. He produced Titans as well. He's on that. It's like, bro, slow down.
Like, don't burn yourself out.
He gonna have all that DC money before it's
give
done.
Bendis something to do.
Let me ask you this question as a comic book collector. Do you, when you collect these books, how do you bag and board them? Do you have a particular kind of bag and board you like to use? Do you like it to be uniform? Do you really give a fuck?
The one thing I found when I got into it that I like to stick with now is there's a resealable bag.
Okay.
But I do a regular, just standard bag and board. Do one board comic, the resealable bag. 'Cause I don't like taping it, because what if I want to read it again? I'm not into like a not open. There's some I haven't opened yet, like alternate covers. But if I want to read, I don't want to have to peel tape off, maybe ruin the bag, I have to put another bag on it. It's just, and I have it in a nice comic box. Keep it all together.
Okay, that's
the only one that annoyed me was Batman Damned, because it wasn't a typical comic size.
You have
I have the
Dong edition?
I have the The Batawang.
You've seen the Batawang.
I have seen the Batawang.
In print form.
I'll never see that again.
I only saw it digitally.
Now you can't, probably.
No.
On all future editions. And it's I think it's slowed down that release. I think Batman Damn #2 got pushed back because they were like, all right, let's look at it again. Make sure there's nothing that can be...
Nothing else.
No phallic. Nothing... No Robin penis this time. Just...
No cat pussy. Or cat cow.
No pussycat.
Yeah, you know. Like,
You really went...
whoa. Catwoman, like, stepping out of the shower. You're like, whoa. I mean, it's hot and all, but, like, we don't really need that in our Batman.
So that was just, like... It wasn't necessary.
Totally unnecessary to the story. It did nothing for the story.
It was just like...
But it did.
Show a penis.
But it did everything for them. Because that little tiny nugget of time they put into drawing a bat dick, a Batawang, if you will.
And it wasn't even like it was just like a silhouette. It was in darkness.
It was total silhouette, you know.
It's like let's just.
I mean, and sure, he's a shower.
One thing, the big news was like, and Batman is circumcised. I'm like, okay, let's.
Sure.
That's now news.
Great. Yeah, no. I think it's funny that Batman gets almost tabloid recognition. Like, he was getting married. Everybody's, oh my God, Batman's getting married. Who's going to marry? And then it's Catwoman, and then that doesn't happen. And then it's like...
There were so many big...
oh my God, is he religious? He's not religious anymore. Batman's not religious. Like, he gets that kind of coverage. He's not even a real person, dude.
Because it's Batman.
He is still just a comic book character, though.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like it's interesting to note that we're this deep in history of comic book characters, and they've affected people to the point where exactly what we're saying. But he's Batman, exactly. He's fucking Batman.
Like no one wants you to alter their
perception. Exactly.
I mean, especially as we're getting close. Like Detective Comics 1000 is coming out another year maybe. We're in the 980s now. So at some point,
half, 2. Maybe.
They run it bi-weekly still.
What do you think about the, did you see the Mark Waid shit? Do you know about who Mark Waid is?
I know the name. I'm trying to think of what happened.
Okay, so Mark Waid is a comic book creator.
Right.
And he famously worked for Marvel mostly. I think a little bit of DC as well in his career. He has been a part of a terrible movement called Comicsgate.
Oh, I remember you talking to me about this. Or you talked about it on a podcast.
I did. I did a whole episode about Comicsgate because I didn't know what the fuck it was, right? And the thing is he is being sued, essentially.
Okay.
And in being sued, he's like, yeah, sure, I have money, but I don't have that kind of money to fend off people who are trying to sue me over bogus defamation bullshit. Like... essentially, the Comicsgate people are trying to use him as a target to make it known if you diversify comic books, the crazy straight white man super nerd types that have sticks shoved deeply into their rectums are going to attack you and make it harder for you to be a person and live. And you're going to have to go through legal trouble and all this shit. It's ridiculous. He had to set up a GoFundMe to pay for his shit, dude.
Oh, gosh.
Mark Waid, okay, needs to raise like $75,000. For his legal defenses. That's crazy.
I don't understand. Some people need something random to get upset about that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
You know what I've noticed, and this is maybe a little bit of poor news talk. Whatever. You guys are going to be hearing it tomorrow anyways. One thing I've noticed is as there's been more pushback on the liberating of people's freedoms, letting everybody have an equal voice no matter what they love, believe in, look like, feel like, whatever, right? There are a couple of exemptions. You can't be a pedoist or whatever the fuck they call them. That's not cool. End of story. Right. Fucking little kids ain't cool.
Right, definitely.
Okay. But you're on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, transgenders and bisexuals and homosexuals and everybody across the board, black, white, Asian, Mexican, right. However you look at it, all deserves an opportunity to be represented.
Definitely.
And I think as we've seen more of that representation, right? There's been like an equal pushback of crazy shit on the opposite side that just shows really childish people.
You're getting entrenched, people that are just not wanting to accept change. Like you saw this week alone, there's been 3 crazy things involving people that are non-white, non-Christian, and
Yeah.
non-Republican, I guess you'd count one, or non-conservative.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's been a weird week because we've seen all of that within like 72 hours, and you're like, people are getting a little extreme with their holding on to an old way of life.
I guess right now the country feels like a giant cauldron that's about to bubble over. You know?
Yeah, like the U.S. is a large melting pot, and I feel like some people are resisting the mix of a melting pot. Like it's supposed to be one.
Think about our fucking ancestors and where we came from, bro.
Right.
How is it that hard to look at? And that's like the thing that pisses me off. Maybe this is a little bit of a tangent, but the one thing that gets me is people that go, well, they aren't slaves. They should just get over that slavery happened. No! That is not right. The thing that people don't understand is it's not about getting over that slavery happened. It's that there are people to this day that don't accept that it was a travesty.
Right.
At the core of it.
Right. Like they show the timetable of like, all right, slavery was 400 years ago, but equal rights of African Americans wasn't even 100 years ago.
50.
Yeah. Like it's that timetable. Like they were fighting to become more than a substandard person since 400 years ago. Like it's not like that's more than what it's like. If their parents or grandparents can remember a time when things were horrible, yeah, that's not something you can get over.
Exactly. And I just think that I feel like the southern states of America are maybe where a lot of our
The
countries,
former Confederacy?
our deep-rooted problems lie. It's that almost subliminally that in that whole culture, one thing we fucked up on Civil War times was not saying, okay, well, here's the deal. Like, you're going to be slaves now for having slaves and learn your lesson. So then the people that lost that war are bitter they lost, and that tradition gets passed on from generation to generation to generation. And guess what? Guess who gets hated on? It's not that the white man was fighting the white man in the war. It's the black man's fault now. And then now the South has this whole like still very racially awful way of looking at things. It's not as awesome as you think in the South. I think some people might miss that. It's sometimes awkward to be down there in situations.
It's almost like there's not a disconnect, but it's almost like old habits die hard.
Oh yeah, and tradition's impossible to
break.
Right,
I mean like there's things like you've been around, like we're from Central Illinois. We like things your grandparents would have said may not be okay now, but it wasn't ill meant. Like it's just a product of the time that they grew up in. It's not. There's people who it's just like, oh, they were like, people call like certain things that like something that now you'd be like, oh, whoa, don't say that. But back then it was like that's what it was. Not meaning anything bad by it. That's just only the association they have.
Correct.
They don't mean any malice, but there's people that still very much have the negative. It's all still just as dark. Like. You really need to see that Black Klansman movie.
Oh, yeah. I actually have access to that. It's something I'm going to be checking out really soon.
It's hard to watch at the very end, but it's definitely a movie that I think a lot of people should see. Because it's just like what we're talking about. How
based on a true story, right? Loosely?
Loosely. It's every movie that's based on a true story. They have to cut some corners. But yeah, it's still very much based on a thing that actually happened.
I think that's funny to mention loosely based on. We were talking about that earlier off air about Venom.
Oh, how it's loosely based on Venom comics.
Which means it's not a Venom movie. If it is not based entirely and entrenched in that story, it's not a Venom movie. I'll see it eventually. I'm not hyped on it. I'm personally, I don't think it's going to be a movie that gets me excited for more Venom, but who knows?
Well, it's like, but like even if you look at the very bones of like based on a true story, it's like the very bones. This was a one point a true event. Like if I made a movie about your life, I could go in a completely different direction and still say it's based on a true story because at one point it was your life. It was your life. But I could say like, well, then they ran for and became president.
And then got hit by a bus.
Like, still based on a true story. Doesn't mean it means that up to a point it's actual truthful facts, but then it can go in its own little direction.
Can I just say,
Threefer?
Yeah, it is a threefer on the trains of our existence. A few years ago, I would have said, I don't think I could run for president. I don't think that I have the candor, the demeanor, the temperament. However, yes, I would love to announce my candidacy after I've turned 35 years of age. I will be running eventually. So look out for that, folks.
Didn't you run for mayor?
I ran for a city alderman, dude.
Oh, that's right.
And it was...
different?
It was one of the weirdest experiences of my life, honestly. But let's go ahead and wrap this, bro. As always, you can check out the Journey into Comics podcast at journeyintocomics.com, where you get the Journey into Comics Network and all the shows. Check us out on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, or Spotify. Patreon.com/Journey into Comics. Give us $1. Just $1. Hey, man, just $1. That's Batman, the first Batman.
Oh, yeah.
When he's up on the roof. Just $1, you know. You get early access and exclusive content, meaning that as soon as we're done recording this podcast, you're going to have it in your ear holes as soon as I'm done editing it. Hopefully soon. We'll see. I think that is going to do it. AP, thanks so much for coming back.
Yeah,
man.
thanks for having me. I just love how this worked out. It was a very last minute together, but I've had a lot of fun.
Me too, bro. Thanks so much for coming on. As always, for Journey into Comics, this has been Journey into Comics 215. I'm Nate.
And I'm AP.
And as always, folks, take it easy and fill your brains with shit. Later.